Britany Hurst, how are you?
Great. How are you?
So great. I am doing very well. Thank you for coming today. You are, and again, let me get this one right. You're the executive director for the Idaho Wheat Commission.
Correct.
Okay. Idaho Wheat Commission is different than the Idaho Wheat Association, the Wheat Growers Association, right? The Wheat Growers Association is a body that is funded by its members to take policy positions, advocate for advantageous environments for wheat growers and whatnot. That's the essentially lobbying and member association. Mm-hmm. You as the commission, you promote the propagation and best environments, research and whatnot for wheat growers throughout the state. And you guys are funded by sales of wheat in Idaho. And again, you're just like, hey, look, we just want the best possible wheat growers in the state. And we're not advocating for policy or anything. But the reason I'm correct on all this so far, yeah?
Yes.
God bless it. Nailed it. The reason I reached out to you is because I've had a lot of conversations about the Snake River dams, the Lower Fork Snake River dams. And from an energy production standpoint, from a water storage, which they don't because they're run of river. So they don't store water. They do produce energy. They do act as a transportation mechanism. The fish are involved, the whole thing. And central to this is this industry in northern Idaho of wheat growers that utilize the barge system to bring their product to market. Mm-hmm. And I've never understood that, right? So out of the Lewiston port, there's a small collection of full-time employees that just their whole job is to keep that port operational. I think it's 6 full-time employees there. And that to me, when I heard that number, I'm like, 6 isn't that many people, right? Like, why do we care about the Lewiston port? And, obviously I'm an idiot and then realize like, oh, because without those 6 people, these thousands and thousands of owners and employees and other people, this entire market would have to shift the way it does business. And that's a problem for at least some portion of those people. I would really like to understand the wheat transportation mechanism, the benefits, and all of northern Idaho wheat.
Absolutely. So
all of it, by the way, all of it.
All of it.
Leave
Everything.
No detail out.
The Columbia Snake River system, which includes those 4 lower Snake River dams, actually provide over 400,000 jobs.
That's a lot of jobs.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so and that's stemming from the transportation mechanism of the barges. So the barges, the 6 people that work there, and then the barge system produces 400,000 jobs in Idaho.
Yes.
And we only have that's 20% of the state. We only have 2 million people that live here. Wow.
Right.
Okay, keep going.
So wheat is Idaho's number 2 crop behind potatoes. We grow 100 million bushels a year, roughly. We can't eat that much, obviously. So 60% of our wheat is exported each year. Primarily our top 5 markets are Japan, South Korea, Mexico, the Philippines, and Taiwan. Not in that order, but okay. Those are them.
Got it.
So there's only one way to get the wheat to those markets, right? And that's across the ocean.
Sure.
So farmers harvest their wheat. They truck it to the local elevator. It's tested by the Federal Grain Inspection Service. They get paid for it. And then that wheat goes on a barge at the Lewis Clark Terminal, the Port of Lewiston, and goes down the river to Portland, the Port of Portland, and then is sent
wherever it's going.
Yeah, to the Pacific Rim or wherever it's going. South America also is a growing, emerging market for Idaho wheat. So Idaho is unique because there are 6 classes of wheat grown in the United States, and Idaho grows 5 of the 6. We could grow all 6, but we don't. What? We don't need to grow soft red because we grow soft white. Soft white wheat is only grown in Washington, Oregon, and Idaho. A little bit in Montana, but not much. And it's the soft white wheat primarily that goes to those Asian markets. So they like has a lower protein quality or quantity, not quality, but quantity. And it has a very bright white color. So think Asian noodles, confections, sponge cake, those things require that bright white.
I love all of those things.
Yeah, they're all great.
Sounds delicious. Dude, sponge cake is so good.
Yeah.
Sponge cake, pound cake.
Mm-hmm.
Oh. Anyway, I'm sorry. Okay, so bright white, then, and that, what are the other, if I may ask? So you have soft red, which we do not grow.
We do not grow.
We grow soft white.
Correct.
What are the other four? I've never, again, please excuse my ignorance. I didn't know that there are like different types of wheat. What are the other 4 types of wheat?
So there's durum, which is used primarily for pasta.
Okay, great. I've heard that. Great.
Yeah. And then hard red, winter, hard red spring.
When you say hard red winter, is that something that's capable of just being essentially being grown in colder temperatures, or?
Yeah. So the difference between, you have two different types. So you either plant wheat, it's either a winter wheat or a spring wheat.
Okay.
So you either plant wheat in September, end of September, early October, and it goes dormant. It emerges from the ground and then it goes dormant through the winter, and it requires those really cold temperatures to go dormant.
Okay, great.
And then in the spring when it heats up, it
comes
out and produces, the kernels.
And then you can harvest, right?
And then you harvest in July, August, September, depending on where in the state you live.
Gotcha. So it gets that initial growth spurt, goes dormant, and then as the weather warms up, it kicks back in, but you're already like 20 or 30% away through the growth cycle.
Yeah.
So then you can harvest in August or September. And if you had planted it right when it was warming up, first off, we have a very fickle spring, right? So if you get, if you get warm and then it starts emerging and then you have freezes, it's my understanding that like that's bad, because if it's just growing, then it might actually go to seed or other things. But anyway, you just may not have enough time. So is that the value of like the hard red winter, that it's like, hey, we'll get 20 or 30% of the way done and then we'll be able to harvest in August or September?
Yeah. You also get, farmers also get higher yields out of winter wheat varieties just because they have more time, and it's just, so spring wheat you plant in February, March, April, depending on the weather. And then you harvest it in September. So
the harvest time is the same. You just don't have as much growth.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Hence the higher yields. Okay. So you have durum, which is, generally that kind of classic pasta, right? Italian pasta. Then you have the hard red as opposed to the soft red that we don't grow. So you have hard red winter, hard red spring. That's 3. What's the 4th?
Yeah. And then hard white.
Okay. And the soft white is the one that is used for Asian noodles.
Yes.
What's the difference between hard white and soft white?
So the kernel hardness.
Yeah.
And also the protein, the amount of protein.
Gotcha.
In the wheat.
And is the harder one the higher protein content?
Yes.
Oh, interesting. Damn, dude, you learned something new. Okay. So point is, we have a lot of wheat emerging markets that are drawing on Idaho wheat, which is fine. And again, all of this goes through our barge system. Okay. Now the real trick is to get all of this wheat to the port of
Portland.
Okay. Are there other wheat producers in the state that don't use the barge system?
Yes. The growers in southern Idaho, the southern half of the state, typically don't use the barge system. That wheat that is grown in the southern half either goes to Mexico on rail or stays in domestic markets.
Gotcha. Okay, so we have mechanisms of transportation aside from this, but generally those transportation mechanisms are going somewhere else. They're not going to the port. So it's not like you have a barge in the water and then a truck running parallel to it going to the same location.
No.
Gotcha.
No. And we don't have the infrastructure in place currently to be able to replace barging with train or truck. It also would be much more expensive to replace barging with ground transportation rather than water transportation, which is a problem because U.S. wheat is already typically more expensive than wheat that you get from Canada, Australia, Argentina, definitely the Black Sea. And So that's working against us, but the quality is working for us, right?
Okay, so we have better wheat than Canada, but theirs is cheaper.
Yes,
Okay.
exactly. And some of those markets are quality driven, but some of them are just quantity driven. So wheat provides 20% of the world's calories. And some of those countries just need calories. They just need food. But if you switch from barging to train or truck, that will increase the cost of freight, which will increase the cost of the wheat, and then we'll lose market share.
Why is barging cheaper?
It's just far more efficient. So one barge, you can put as much wheat on one barge as 144 rail cars and 538 semi trucks.
Okay, so you'd have to have either 538 trips with one driver or 538 drivers. And is that one box, or is it literally like even if you did like a land train with like 2 or 3 different crates?
That's what the maximum that you can put on.
Okay.
Yeah.
However it's distributed, that's the maximum you could get. Mm-hmm. Okay, so that's a wild number, right? So then you're looking at an efficiency of 500x.
Yeah. Right.
Okay, so that's why it's cheaper.
Yeah. So just if we were to remove barging from the picture, which we can barge because those 4 lower Snake River dams are in place. If you took that away from the equation, it would equal an additional 413 truck trips every day, all year through that corridor, which means wear and tear on the roads, more traffic, more accidents. It's just, and I mean, that's beyond the general increased cost of freight.
Right. The 413 truck trips, it's kind of like, okay, if you distribute that over 24 hours, it's like 20 more per hour, right? So that's a truck every 3 minutes.
Yeah.
Right.
You did that math so fast.
Well, it's not 100% accurate, but yeah. So you have a certain increase. I mean, like a car going by every 3 minutes is not that's kind of like, okay, our roads are designed to deal with cars. And if you're just saying like, hey, there's going to be a car every 3 minutes, it's like, shoom. And it's like 259, 258. I mean, like you wait a bit, right? But the cost is really the big thing. Like what is the increased cost? Or at least I shouldn't minimize damage on road. Like, okay, it's damage on road, right? Mm-hmm. But what's the cost? Like if I were a grower, I'm like, okay, how much it cost me X number of dollars to ship my product, right? I've grown it. I have it. It's in the elevator. It's going to go over the port. It cost me X number of dollars to ship this product. What would that cost be if they're like, okay, I can't ship it now. I actually have to put it on I have to drive it. Is that going to be like 2X or 3X? Like what's the multiplier there?
It really depends on the trucking company, the freight. If there are fewer options, they can increase price, right? So supply and demand. So it really depends. I mean, I don't know an exact number for increased cost, but you have to think about how much extra fuel you would need. You're paying a driver, usually more than one, because they have to take, there are laws on how far they can drive in a day, and all of that. So it's really, I mean, barging really is the most efficient, the least expensive. And
we don't know how much less expensive.
No, I don't have that number off the top of my head.
Great.
Right. But also environmentally, it's the most environmentally friendly.
Help me understand that.
So barges produce 10 times less carbon emissions than trucks per ton mile of cargo.
Okay, so I think you said something like 140 truck trips to equal one barge.
538.
538. There you go. So a barge essentially produces like 53 trucks worth of emissions. And compared to the load, you'd have to take 538 trucks, right? Okay. So a barge is roughly 54 times more carbon emission than a truck, but you need, like 100 times that or something to carry the same load.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha. So from an efficiency, it's from a gross product standpoint.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yes. And there is an argument that, people have said, well, we haven't always had dams, so we haven't always been able to barge wheat. And that's true. But 50 years ago, Idaho wheat producers were producing about 40 bushel per acre of wheat. In the past 50 years, that number has more than doubled. So our average yield per acre is 89 bushels per acre now. So it's even more, no, we haven't always had barging, but we also have a lot more product.
Right.
Now.
And we haven't always had automobiles.
No.
Right? Like, okay, that's fine. Like, yeah, we absolutely have not always had automobiles.
Right.
And, before we had automobiles, the average person didn't venture more than like 5 to 10 miles away from the place they were born ever. Right. Yeah. Like people didn't travel. Right. We also didn't like I was in a different state yesterday. I was popped in and popped out via airplane. Thank you. I flew through the sky. Right.
Right.
And, so, okay, yeah, we didn't always have this. So the argument that, hey, you could just function in the same manner because we didn't always have this. The answer is no, I couldn't function in the same manner. It was a different world and we had different outputs from that world. We also have not always had cell phones and computers. That doesn't mean you could stay connected with people in the same manner, right? Man, my friend, this is hilarious. I was in college, right? And I didn't have a cell phone until I was like 21, 22. And my buddy did have one. And our housemate would always be borrowing it from him. He was like, hey, can I call this person? And eventually my buddy Rob was like, Max, you are way too social to not have a cell phone. He's like, I don't want a cell phone. I don't need it. He's like, you use mine all the time because, as I'm sure you recall, like when you're younger, you're like, I think my friends are at Johnny's house, and you just go to Johnny's house. And if they were there, awesome, party on, like whatever you guys are doing, and you just like going to the water park or just hanging out, whatever, fine. Right. If they're not at Johnny's house, you're done. Because now you're away from your house. You got to go all the way back home to get a landline. So you go to like, hey, is Johnny here? They're like, no, they left an hour ago. And you're like, oh no. So now they're at Susie's house. And you're like, can I use your phone? And then of course, is it local?
Right.
Like, the communication was just terrible or just not. And we don't have a social or business world now that could exist in its current iteration using those rules. So yes, the barge system hasn't always existed. That's true. But we also couldn't function in the way we are now like we did then. So that would take, whatever that business modification, either increase in wheat or decrease in production or decrease in market connectivity, which, is a problem for everyone. So yeah, like we also didn't have a lot of things before. That doesn't mean we want to go back to that time.
Exactly.
So for the 400 million jobs, or excuse me, 400,000 jobs, I'm really curious about this number. Is that including like H-2A workers? Like because when you say 400,000 people, it's like, that's gotta be, like 50% of the Idaho workforce centered around, or at least Idaho population that's of working age that's centered around, Northern Idaho wheat production.
Around farming. Yeah. Wheat producers don't typically use H-2A because wheat isn't a row crop. So it's you plant it and you let it do its thing and then you harvest it. So it's really transportation, it's inputs, it's the Federal Grain Inspection Service. I mean, there are so many people and so many jobs that revolve around agriculture in general in the state and throughout the Pacific Northwest as a whole. So it really would have a huge environmental impact as well.
You mean like employment impact?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Economic impact.
Economic,
I'm
yeah.
sorry, not
No,
environmental.
I mean, I'm sure it would be both because I mean
Yeah.
that the agricultural industry obviously is a carbon sequestration. Sequestration? No, it sounds like
Sequestration?
sequestration. Is that the word?
I think
I
so.
was thinking sequestrian. I was like, no, that's equestrian. Like, I'm thinking horses. Like I'm a dressage guy. Anyway, yeah, I mean that has an impact too, and this is something that comes up when you talk about. For instance, with Lava Ridge, people were talking about, it's like, okay, but we have cattle operations, like ranchers and ranging operations that go out there and they, chomp through the grass. And that's a valuable thing because we're managing these large swaths of land. You would, again, obviously just have to change things up if you changed all of that. Is there anybody in the wheat association or are there any wheat growers that are interested in, some, whatever the benefits as they may be articulated would be with getting rid of or the dams or finding alternate transportation? Is they're like, yeah, look, this would be a big ask, but it would actually be good for us in reason X, Y, and Z.
Well, I think everyone is a broad
everyone
statement.
is everyone.
A lot of, and I would say probably most of the wheat growers want to find a solution because ultimately this whole conversation around dams and barging comes down to salmon, right? And we are all very interested in finding a solution that allows the wheat to get to market, obviously.
Sure.
Especially because those markets that import for a reason. They can't grow wheat in those countries. Definitely not enough. And also find a way to protect the salmon. What is the answer to that? I don't know. If I did, I would.
You'd be the person.
I would be.
You'd be it.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, right.
But we are interested in dams and salmon, barging and salmon coexisting.
Sure. And you're on Team Human, right?
Yeah.
Like you gotta pick a team, and that's not to say that you can't like humans and like salmon at the same time,
Right.
but having less food is not a solution that most people articulate when thinking about world problems. It's
Right.
more of like, hey, we should all have food, we should all have housing, we should all have energy, right? And in the contemporary world, view. Okay, great. Producing less food is not going to help with that, right? And one of the great secrets of the United States is that we really only spend, I think it's like 16 or 70% of our gross income on food.
Yeah.
There are a lot of other countries that spend upwards of like 25 to 30%, almost double, and that gives them less discretionary income to then spend on consumer things. Now, whatever you think about that, as far as the United States being like, materialistic or a large world economy, it's like, yeah, but that's the way it is. Like that's. We all get the iPhone, whatever, and then like TVs and things like that. And if we didn't have that buying power, we wouldn't be in the position in the world that we are. People want access to our markets, and they want access to our markets because we have money to spend, and we have money to spend because we're not spending all of it or a larger portion of it on our base requirements.
That's
like
right.
wheat.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I said that 60% of Idaho's wheat is exported, but about 50% of all of the wheat grown in the United States is exported as well. 10% of all of those exports go through the Columbia Snake River system. So 100 million bushels a year go down the river. Nobody wants to see their neighbors starving, right?
Right.
And in those countries around the world that rely on food imports, wheat imports from the United States, I think the statistic or the anecdote is that every country is 2 meals away from a revolution, right?
Yeah, right.
If you're hungry, that's the start of bad news. And we don't want that either.
Yeah, look, I don't disagree with you. So essentially what you're saying is this is like international stability.
Absolutely.
Food security.
Yes. Food security is national security. 100%.
What portion of the United States wheat is grown in Idaho?
We are the fifth. We go between number 5 and number 6 in the country.
Gotcha.
We grow about 10%. So
Gotcha.
we produce 100 million bushels, and there are 2 billion bushels.
Okay, so
grown
we're like
across the
5%.
country. Yeah,
Wait, did you say 100 million or?
100 million.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Man, that's a lot of wheat. That's a lot. Question for you, and you may not know the answer to this, and I will absolutely hold it against you. I'll
make one up.
Yeah, right. Just lie to me. Just make it good. What's that Fleetwood Mac song? Sweet Little Lies.
Yeah.
Wow, I can't believe I referenced that. Anyway, so I was on a trip recently. I was gifted this trip overseas, and I can't eat gluten. Like I'm gluten. Like I haven't had a Costco pizza in forever.
Yeah.
I haven't had really any pizza in forever, which is very depressing. I also can't do like a nice baguette or a loaf of French bread and then you take, or like a croissant, and you take some butter and put, oh my God, like salted butter on a hot piece of bread. It's been a minute. But I went overseas and I ate all of it. Like I ate all 100 million bushels or whatever. Like I ate literally like wheat with almost every meal. We're talking pastas, we're talking pizzas, sandwiches, focaccia bread. Focaccia bread sandwiches. They were the best sandwiches I've ever had in my life. Anyway, why? Why is that? I was not sick. I didn't feel terrible. I didn't feel like, help me understand this.
This is my favorite thing to talk about.
Is it
with
for
wheat.
real?
For real. It
Okay,
really
well,
is.
way to bury the lead. Why didn't you tell me this stuff? Okay, why? Like, help me understand, because I want to open a store that has that wheat, and I'm going to make all the food, and I'm going to grow to be like 500 pounds because I'm going to eat it all day long.
So I'm going to tell you that wheat is the same as our wheat.
Okay, help me understand.
The wheat, there has been extensive research done, and the wheat is not different. Similar with like people who say that they can eat ancient grains or.
So you're saying European wheat is no different than American wheat?
No different.
Okay, why can I eat the European wheat and I can't eat the American wheat?
Because they process it differently. So in the United States, we eat a lot, right? We eat a lot of bread, hamburger buns, pizza crust, cereals, all of those things.
Okay,
right?
Fine.
So,
I don't eat any of it. In the United States, Matt doesn't eat any of it. In Europe, Matt ate all of it. So,
right.
Okay, keep
so
going.
Let me explain why.
Great.
So we're pumping loaves of bread out like nobody's business, right?
Sure.
All day long.
Great.
We speed up the fermentation process. We speed up all the processes to get from flour to end product so that the grocery stores have them on their shelves. In Europe and other countries, they make everything in small batches. They make it fresh, and they have a long fermentation process. So there are a lot of people who can eat sourdough bread, for example, but can't eat like Sara Lee Wonder bread,
whatever.
right? And it's because, do you know what FODMAPs are?
Talk to me.
Sugars in foods
Okay.
that ferment. So when you do a long fermentation process, those sugars ferment on the counter or, in the proofing drawer, right?
Okay.
And
the fermentation is the bacteria actually eating the sugars and breaking it down.
Right. Breaking it down. So when you speed up that process, those sugars still have to be broken down. The fermentation process still has to happen, but it happens in your stomach instead of in the proofing drawer.
Okay. And that causes different bacterial growth and different taxation on your gut system.
Yeah. Yeah. They don't do that in other countries because they make everything fresh, small batch. You go to the bakery and you buy what you need for that day.
Okay. But is that universally true? Like I was in Rome. you can't tell me that it was like the old grandmas, like making it very, just like going to the, it's like there were a gajillion people there and they were pumping out pizzas like this, baby. And I got 90% of them. Like,
Yeah.
So like, is it really universally just that it's like, no, they all just, they have these like ancient methodologies or whatever it might be. Is it really just that? Cause you're saying if I buy like heirloom wheat from, let's say Italy, and I import Italian heirloom wheat, and I take just the average flour off the shelf here, and I bake things with them, the end product will be the exact same if I use the process from, flour all the way to table.
Yes.
Wow.
That is correct. So
wait, why do they call it heirloom wheat then? What does it matter?
It's a marketing gimmick.
Stop it. Are you serious?
Yes. And the reason you kind of hit the nail on the head. The reason that people can eat foods made with heirloom wheat is because they're making it themselves. So they're using a longer fermentation process. You need the bread, you let it rise. You need the bread, you let it rise. And they speed all of that up for commercial production. Interestingly, the places that eat the most bread products, the most wheat products, Italy, Turkey, Chile, have the highest rates of celiac disease.
Why is that interesting?
Because people say when they go to those countries, they can eat the wheat, but it's not the wheat that is different. It's the process. Also,
so you're saying they have celiac, but it doesn't affect their culture or their consumption because in reality, the celiac by definition is an allergy, right? Or the problem, whatever the problem is, that's actually negated by the way they process it. So it's like, yeah, a lot of people have celiacs, but they still eat the food here because they treat it differently.
Well, no, not entirely. Celiac is totally different. Celiac it's an allergy, but not like a take Benadryl and you're fine allergy. It actually damages
the gut lining.
Yeah, the gut lining. But Italy, for example, it's a law in Italy that every restaurant provide gluten-free options as well.
Well, that would explain why they had a lot of gluten-free options.
Yeah.
Because initially I went, I was like, yeah, I have to have this gluten-free.
Yeah.
And a lot of places were like, great, here it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so why do I have a problem with beer then? Because if I drink a single beer, and again, like you can give me a spirit, like I could have a shot of tequila, not like a huge tequila guy, but like you could give it to me, or like, I don't know, an old fashioned or a gin and tonic or whatever. Like it's not the alcohol in that because I can have one of those and everything's fine. If I drink a beer, I look like I fought Mike Tyson. My face swells up. Do you ever see that film Encanto, the cartoon? Oh, it's fantastic, right? So the dad gets stung by the bee and his face is all dumb. Yeah. So like that's me. My joints start cracking. Like it's really, I can actually, my nose and ears plug up like I'm on an airplane within 5 seconds.
Yeah.
Is that this? Are you saying that's the same thing?
I can't speak to beer because I don't spend my time with on beer or barley, right? But barley has gluten in it.
Sure.
And I'm not saying either that if you have a gluten sensitivity or a gluten intolerance or whatever, that you can eat gluten containing foods and be totally fine if they're processed differently. A lot of people can, or they can eat more of it before it affects.
Have some reaction. Sure.
Yeah. But everybody's body is different, right? Certain things you can handle, certain things you just can't. So you might have a
beer problem.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Yeah.
I'm definitely not getting the gut.
And you don't look like Hitch.
I don't look like Hitch.
Yeah.
Gosh, man. Yeah. Okay. So the bottom line is you're just saying, look, this is a process of dealing with it. There's nothing special about it.
Yeah. In fact, Italy imports quite a bit of durum from the United States. So people who bring back pasta, like dry pasta from Italy.
They're probably just bringing it right back to where it started.
I mean, on the back, it says grown in North Dakota.
Oh
You
my
know?
gosh. Thanks, Italy.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really, you're telling me the heirloom wheat, like Italian heirloom wheat movement is totally just a marketing gimmick.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is crazy.
Yeah. That's the research. There has been extensive research done.
Can you send me this research? Do you have
Sure.
access to this
Yeah.
research?
Yeah.
I will read it. I just
Yeah.
want to know.
Absolutely.
Okay. Is there anything else I need to know about wheat? Because now I feel like you're kind of like freaking me out a little bit. Everything I held true.
Yeah. Right. No. No, but the nutrition of it is really like that's
your thing.
my favorite thing to talk about.
Can I also
So
ask you
interesting.
about fortifying wheat with folic acid? Because I have a dear friend of mine, and you may not know again. And if you don't know, I'm totally holding it against you. But the point is, my friend, one of my dearest friends from jiu-jitsu had these horrendous joint problems in his elbow and his hand, to the point where like he couldn't even use one of his arms when he was training. So he was like training one-handed. He happens to be very good, so he was okay. But the point is, he was going to have surgery, and he cut out anything containing folic acid, and his joint issues just went away after the course of like 2 or 3 months. And he was so taken by this, he cut everything with folic acid in it. And we fortify, most wheats come fortified with folic acid, right? Why do they put folic acid in it?
Because in the 50s, 40s, 50s, children were being born with birth defects because there weren't these specific
Vital nutrients.
They weren't getting them other ways. And so they started adding those vital nutrients to the flour to improve public health.
Okay. And they just stuck with it.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, I'm the last person who's ever going to say that's all in your head or
Sure.
you're crazy, you're making that up, because everyone's body is different. We all have things that we can handle and things that we can't. So,
and we need different nutrients and
Yeah,
different
exactly.
combinations of things at different points in our life.
Exactly.
That's why we have puppy food and we have dog food.
Right.
We have different combinations of nutrients.
right. So I'm glad that cutting out folic acid helped your friend's joint issues. You can get flour without the enrichments. But that's why they started adding them, was to improve public health, improve mortality rates.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Does Idaho have a large collection of like organic wheat growers? And not because I know we have I had a gal on a year or two ago from Lazy SP Ranch, and she does whole milk. She has a whole milk dairy.
Oh yeah.
And it was awesome. Had her in and chatted all about it. Dude, I'm still not trying it like that. Because again, I'm that milk in me. And everybody tells me like, dude, just get A2 milk. Just get A2 whole milk. I'm like, you can go ahead and take that idea and just walk right out of the room with it.
Right.
Because the consequences, if you're wrong, are dire. But again, Idaho has a lot of those types of things where it's like, yeah, look, we have this, drink at your own risk. And, she has a great program and everything. We actually talked, it was like 10 minutes of her going through her sanitization process because the mechanisms and, obviously when you're harvesting whole milk, you have to make sure everything around it's like the gloves, the actual animal, the udders, the teats, the whole thing. They're all like super clean and pristine, or else you get, contamination. And that's a very, very bad thing. Anyway, are there people that engage in kind of like, organic, non-processed enrichment production or wheat production in Idaho?
We do have organic wheat grown in Idaho. It's not as common. It's a lot more expensive to grow organic wheat, and
Which is reflected at the market.
Yeah, right. And then it also like you have to find a mill that is an organic mill. And
Oh, so you need like dedicated elevators and mills and everything. I hadn't thought about that. So it's almost like you have to hit a threshold of people willing to participate or that want to produce this product. And then the people that run mills and elevators are like, okay, there are enough customers for us to store, transport, and, process this that we'll have this division.
Right. Yeah. The premium has to pencil out for the farmer of how much they're willing to put in versus how much they're getting from the elevator, getting from the market.
When you talk about market-driven prices, or when because you didn't say market-driven prices, but it was my understanding that from dairy, let me do you a solid. Don't do that with your headphones.
Oh,
Because listen, just take them off and do this. Push your hair back, because if they fall backwards and you do this, you look like a peacock.
oh,
I'm looking out for you. I'm looking
Thank
out. So just
you.
take them like this, put them on the forehead, and then slide. There you go. Perfect.
I love a good peacock look.
Sometimes I wouldn't want to stop a conversation,
Yeah.
and then every time I'd be editing it, it's like, dude, you should have just said something. It's like people's hair, because you pull it back and it's like, whoop,
Oh yeah, totally.
Anyway, dairy. I had my buddy Rick Narabout on a couple times
yeah.
at the legislative session. Love Rick. He's
Rick's
great.
awesome.
And he was explaining to me, he was like, listen, dairy's not a price setter. They're a price taker.
Exactly.
Right. And you do not, if you're running a dairy, you don't get to say, hey, my inputs were more expensive. My labor was more expensive. Or I made smaller batches, higher quality. So I'm going to increase my price by 30%.
Right.
That's not how it works. It's more like, nah.
No.
You take what we give you and you either sink or swim, because the market derives the price. And it independent of what it's costing the individual grower or producer. How does the wheat industry function?
Same.
Okay.
Same way. Wheat growers are price takers, not price makers.
That's it. It's not price setters. Price taker, not price maker.
That's right.
There you
That's
go.
right. So the market determines the price of wheat. The market determines the price of inputs. And that's why farming is such a high risk occupation, profession, livelihood, lifestyle, because you have to do, this many inputs for nitrogen or, pesticides or whatever it is on your wheat, but the market could be $5 wheat.
Gotcha.
And so you can't demand a higher price for your wheat to cover your inputs. You just have to hope that things, pencil out and that you have a decent crop.
Yeah, I did. I had Brian Searle on a few months back, president of the Farm Bureau, and the conversation actually went a little dark for a period of time, but very real. It's like farmers have a very, very high rate of suicide. It is
Absolutely
extremely emotionally taxing and anxiety provoking way to make a living. And, in talking to a lot of farmers as I have, it really is like they do their absolute best, but they know by the grace of God, man, you can't control the weather. You can't control rainfall. You can't control, water rights. Like, it's like, it is what it is.
Yeah. Half of Idaho's wheat is grown in dry land conditions, which means they just have to rely completely on whatever precipitation they get. They don't have water rights. They don't have irrigation.
I went to Lewis County, actually near Lewiston, and I went to a thing in Winchester, and seeing all the canola or rapeseed that was being grown as I was driving up there. First off, I couldn't believe it. Was like, this is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. And it was a period of time when it was yellow before it turned brown, but it's like gorgeous and yellow, just these gigantic rolling hills and fields. And once I got there, I was chatting with people. I'm like, so where do you guys get your water from? I'm like, the sky.
Yeah.
Like, what do you mean? They're like, we don't have irrigation here. We literally plant and then hope it rains and hope it rains enough and consistently. And that's it. And just understanding that that's how you make your living and that's your livelihood. And that's it. You're just waking up every day like, please God, let it rain today.
And not hail.
Oh my God. I don't have the guts to be a farmer.
Hail could wipe out your entire crop.
But they have crop insurance, right?
They do.
Then it's like you're scratching out a living, and then you got to buy insurance just in case you can't scratch out your living. Right off the top.
Yeah. But they also use, farmers are very future forward. So they use different methodologies, different production practices that help with those things. So, for example,
pull that mic closer. You moved away from that. No, you can stay there. Just pull the mic to you. There you go.
For example, you were talking about canola, which is different from rapeseed.
Oh, I thought the canola oil was made from rape seeds.
Canola is a GM version of rapeseed, but rapeseed is not food safe. Canola is food safe. So
Okay.
they're the same family but different.
Okay, so some scientists took the rapeseed, that plant, and they're like, all right, this is good for like industrial purposes.
Yep. Yeah.
Wouldn't it be great if we could use this in, I don't know, deep fryers? And they're like, well, you can't use that stuff. But maybe if we tweak these aspects of it, we can make this new and similar thing derived from the original rapeseed, and we'll call that a canola, a canola seed. Okay. So they grow the canola / rapeseed plant, and then that is food safe to make what we all know as canola oil.
Yes.
Okay.
And canola is actually an acronym for Canadian oil low acid. And it's that lower acid content that makes it food safe.
Wow. Wild times. Okay, keep going.
So the reason I know that is because so many wheat farmers use cropping systems. So they do a rotation system to replenish nutrients in the ground so they can use fewer inputs. They also, especially in dry land situations, they do minimum till or no-till production. So they don't, after they harvest, they just leave the stalks in the ground. It
Everything
holds,
biomass, yeah.
Yeah, it holds moisture in the ground and then also returns nutrients into the ground as well.
Can we discuss just briefly the story of the American farmer that is being told in mass media that I have ingested my entire life? And it was only when I moved to Idaho and started actually connecting with the agricultural industry that I realized all of that's total trash. Like my entire life I've heard we're running out of topsoil, there are all these mega monocrop farmers and they're just raping and pillaging the soil, and every annual crop pulls out like 50 years worth of nutrients and we're all going to die and it's all their fault. That's what I've been told my entire life. And then you move to Idaho and realize that's trash. Like, I don't know a single farmer that does that. You talk about crop rotations, leaving stalks, low till, no till, all of these different things. I was hanging out with a bunch of farmers just last week, all discussing, because we have a new water agreement, right? That gives you a certain average allocation over a 4-year period.
Yeah.
They're all discussing the crop rotations, exactly what you're saying. Like, okay, if I plant this thing instead of this thing, I can reduce my inputs. I also like, this is a heavy water, this is a low water, but this one has more nutrient content, or like I'll take a season off, like all of these different things in order to achieve maximally nutrient dense, fertile earth that's sustainable with low water and low inputs. It's like, oh my God, where's that person on the documentary about the American farmer system? And it ultimately comes down to, this is really complex. Farmers aren't dumb. People managing water are not dumb. They're all trying the best they can. And none of them, not a single one of them, want the earth to be worse off at the end of the season.
No.
And that is not a story that is being told in America about agriculture right now.
That's right. That's right. So 97% of wheat farms in Idaho are family farms. The other lie is that agriculture is all big corporations, big corporate, and that's just not the case. It's a guy and his wife and his kids who are running the farm day in and day out. And for the most part, those farms are multi-generational. So they've been passed down. And the farmer now, the dad, wants to be able to pass on the farm to his kids, right? So of course he's not going to ruin the land. He wants his kids to be as profitable, or if not more profitable than he has been, producing wheat, potatoes, sugar beets, whatever it is. And so they are going to protect the land and go to expensive lengths to make sure that the soil is healthy, that there's or moisture preservation in that soil, and that farmland can continue for generations.
It would literally be like, I have a house that I want to pass on to my kids, so I'm going to trash it.
Yeah.
And
right.
I, don't pay the sewer bill, so I start pissing on the carpet, and the refrigerator rots out, the roof has a hole in it, and I'm like, yeah, because I want to pass this on to my kids. Like, nobody's going to do that. Or let's say I have a lot of money, which I don't, but let's say I did, and I wanted to like pass on a large chunk in inheritance to my children. Mm-hmm. So I blow it all.
Right.
It's like the earth is literally the inheritance. The fertility is the thing you're passing on. Mm-hmm. And just the self-centered nature of a parent being like, I want to pass on something good, necessitates stewardship and care for that earth for generations to come. It's really, again, I've learned a lot of things since I've moved here, right? And I've been very disillusioned about what I understood about America and the systems we have in place. And that's, by the way, that's what I was born into. Mm-hmm. I was born into a large system in the largest population state in the country that chews up people and spits them out and works very, very hard to make sure they have a very particular worldview. And I've been very lucky to break out of that and learn the things I have. And it's just so shocking how intentionally people can be manipulated mm-hmm. for the betterment of, whatever social movement you want. And then you realize, or at least I do, I've come to the understanding that there are so many aspects of the social systems that I moved from that were weaponized against me and manipulated me to, it's like, somebody's compassionate. It's good to be compassionate, man. I bet we can use that. Mm-hmm. And then you weaponize people's compassion to get them to agree to a lot of these different things. Because if you don't agree, you're not compassionate. And all of a sudden you're living in a state of absolute hell, all because you didn't want somebody to accuse you of not being compassionate. Right? It's like, those are the types of social manipulations that also, like, I remember watching in my 20s, do you remember that documentary King Corn?
Yeah.
Michael Pollan.
Uh-huh.
Michael Pollan was a client of mine. I worked with his son. Really enjoy the guy. Mm-hmm. But the whole point of King Corn is, hey, we grow too much food. Mm-hmm. That was literally the point of King Corn, right? And you have other issues like that. What was it? Not Omnivore's Dilemma, Forks Over Knives. There was one, there was a big docuseries on organic farming in Monsanto. Right. Mm-hmm. Where there were like, these are all monocrops. These people are like killing the ground. The only way this stuff grows is blah, blah. It's like, I haven't seen a single one of those types of things in this state. I'm not saying that people don't have, Monsanto crops or grow GMO stuff or whatever it is, but I haven't seen a single like monocrop rape and pillage, killing the little guy farming system here.
No, because it doesn't work. It doesn't work in the moment. Because certain crops pull more nutrients than others out of the ground, right? Like potatoes need a lot of nitrogen, wheat doesn't. So wheat and potatoes are usually in a cropping system together, a rotation system. But if you grow the same crop over and over and over, you're sucking all of the nutrients out of the ground that particular
nutrient profile.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That nutrient profile, which means you have, after 2 years or 3 years or however long it takes, you have a really crappy product. You have a really terrible harvest, poor yields. In the case of wheat, it affects the protein level. It affects the baking quality. In potatoes, it could be the size. I'm not a
sure.
Not the potato person.
Sure.
But
yeah.
So it not only impacts the long-term sustainability of like passing your farm on,
right?
But just right here and now, if you don't take care of the soil, you're going to have terrible crops.
Right. Now, of course, there is the argument that I've heard a million times in my life, which is like, corporations don't care about long-term viability. They care about making a buck. Okay, maybe true. I've never worked for a corporation. I
Yeah.
have no idea what they're doing, but I do know that corporations very much understand maintenance, because if they didn't, there would be no airline in the entire world that was still in existence.
Right.
Because they don't just get a plane and say, I care about profits today. I don't care if this plane even flies tomorrow. I just want to get one more trip out of it. That's not a way to run a sustainable corporation.
No.
Right? You have to acknowledge, okay, we have a certain amount of maintenance and upkeep, and we factor that into the amount of money that we can make, and we buy, sell, and, exchange businesses based on that maintenance dollar, right? That maintenance budget item. So it's kind of like, this doesn't play out in any other industry. It does not work. There's no other industry where you're like, there's a corporation that just doesn't care at all and they just run everything to the ground. No, yeah, you have instances of corporate abuse and things of that nature. But on the average, like if that was the way that corporations work, none of them would ever stand the test of time.
Exactly.
Right? Like it just, I don't know, man. It's what a weird thing. Who do we call about this? Who do we file an appeal with? we should write a letter.
Yeah, write a letter.
Who do I give a 1 star to? Okay, totally off topic, but I had a tutoring business before I moved to Idaho.
Oh, okay.
And sometimes people would call. I was all word of mouth. I didn't advertise at all. And sometimes people would call and be like, yeah, I tried to look you up. I couldn't find you anywhere. And, how come you don't have a Yelp and stuff? I'm like, I don't want to deal with Yelp and whatnot. And towards the end, in 2019, before everything turned upside down, I actually wanted to start a Yelp. And I had this plan with my students that I was going to openly advertise that I would buy off reviews for Yelp, but only if you gave me a 1 star. And we were going to make t-shirts that says and it would have a 1 star and the 4 black stars. It's I'm a 1 star at Matt Todd University. And I was going to have them write reviews that were just the most ridiculous reviews ever, and openly advertise that I paid for this review. So it would screw up the Yelp contractual rules, because you can't buy reviews.
Right.
And they'd all be crazy. I went in there and he literally had 150 sharpened pencils for me to use, and I couldn't pick which pencil. 1 star. Yeah, it would have been funny. Anyway,
That would have been funny.
Different lifetime. Listen, we've talked about a lot of different things. Have we missed anything? I'm sure we have, but is there anything you wanna hit here at the end?
I think another big issue when we talk about food security is food aid programs. So that's been in the news a lot lately with USAID,
which does not stand for aid as we know it.
Yeah. But there are 2 different programs, Food for Peace and Food for Progress, right? The United States is the largest contributor by far to food aid throughout the world. And we have seen some really great success stories of countries, the Philippines, for example. Philippines started as a food aid country, and now they're one of our biggest importers. We have a 87%, I think, market share in the Philippines. So almost all of their wheat comes from the United States. If food aid were its own market, it would be in the top 10 markets for wheat exports in the United States. And that goes back to farmers. They want people to be fed. They want people to be well nourished and have a nutritious and healthy product. And in order to have a nutritious and healthy product, you have to have healthy soil, right? You have to have healthy, you have to take care of the land to do that. And we're seeing a big shift in that food aid right now with the administration closing down USAID, and we're actively participating in education efforts to keep those programs running and open. But I think it's just a huge testament to the altruism of the American farmer, that they really, they're feeding their own kids and grandkids this product, and it's safe for people all over the world.
Yeah, and what kind of monster would be doing the alternative?
Right.
You know, like I had a conversation with a very old friend yesterday about you know, I'm a lifelong athlete, and now in my early 40s, I see the story of my life and my upbringing and where sports and specifically notable endeavors like being on a rowing team in college, where that fits into kind of like, okay, this is the story of Matt, and these were portions of it, or where they, and without that viable storytelling mechanism where you feel you have meaning in your engagement, we are lost. You know, and that's part of the story of the American farmer, which is we are feeding people. We are engaging in the natural resources that we all absolutely fundamentally need. And, you know, you take that away and that's a terrible thing.
Yeah.
Right. Like, because who wants to go through the turmoil and suffering and difficulty of farming and the risks involved without believing deeply in the mission and the meaning behind it? So, yeah, man, I can see that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, Britany, thank you for coming in.
You're welcome.
I
Thank you
appreciate
for
you.
having me.
Let's do this again. I would love to talk about developing things in wheat. I don't know what all the developing things are.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
We should run a test. We should use me as a guinea pig. I want to like take you up on this and find out if, like, I want to get very specific details about the wheat involved. Like, let's just start figuring out if there's a wheat that I can eat, if there's a process I can engage in to eat the wheat. I would love to start eating pizza again. I'll make it myself, I swear to God. And if that is just a case of like, hey, you don't have a gluten problem, it's a processing problem, then damn it, man, I want to know that. So we should run do you bake bread? Are you a bread baker?
I am not. I am not.
What's wrong with you?
I am
You
not.
work for the Wheat Commission. You don't bake your own bread?
I'm not a baker.
What are you a griller? Barbecuer?
I cook, but I don't bake. I have very low success rate with baked goods.
I'm terrible at baking. Every time there are instructions, I'm like, dump it all in. They're like, no, you were supposed to mix it or like melt the butter. I was like, the butter's in there. They're like,
fine.
You melted it. It was supposed to be soft. It wasn't supposed to be melted. I was like, is it going to taste like cake? It's going to taste like cake. Is it cake? Yeah. You ever watch that show? Is it cake? Yeah, my boys love that. Anyway, thank you for coming on. Let's do this again.
All right.